Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Wednesday night update. We are certainly glad to have each and every one of you with us tonight. Lan, you were, I believe, the first one online tonight at about 5:56. Eager as always, I guess, for what is coming over the airwaves via YouTube. I guess there's no airwaves involved, though. Well, Wi-Fi, I suppose, airwaves. Let's see. Dale, good evening to you. I trust that your week has been going smoothly for you. It is good to have you online with us. And Meg, good to have you with us here as well. I look forward to the day when we actually get to see you guys in person again. Hopefully it won't be too far away, but unfortunately with the way COVID is continuing to impact our communities and Minnesota now being having the highest rate of infection in the nation, I think we all need to continue to be very cautious about that. Peggy, it's good to have you with us tonight. Hope things are going better for you at this time as well. And Rich and Kathy, I see you guys have checked in there too. It was good to see Rich earlier as he was in taking care of some of his treasurer duties. And Kathy, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far. If anybody else checks in, I'll take a look at that again in a little bit here. In terms of announcements this evening, obviously we are continuing to monitor COVID and its potential impact to the church. As of right now, you guys know masks are required here in the building through the end of the year, and session will be reevaluating that next month. But assuming things continue to go the way they are, we will be continuing to wear masks, I'm sure, now through the winter months as well. We do have the quilt sale going on. The Thursday Sewing Group is displaying their beautiful quilts that they've been making over the course of the year in the Red Hall. They'll be doing that through the month of November. So just a couple more Sundays for those. And each quilt does have a price tag on it. If you're interested in purchasing one of those or several of those, they are available to do so. All the proceeds from those sales go directly to support our various mission activities here at the church. Also, our blanket making is coming up this Saturday, November 20th from 10:30 to 12:30 in the Fellowship Hall. We are asking that you all wear masks if you come. It is, again, like I say, the policy of our church right now to do whatever we can to maintain the best sense of public health and safety with the COVID pandemic that we possibly can. So, again, blanket making this coming Saturday. Also, then, you guys are, I'm sure, well aware, as those of you who tune in here on a Wednesday night are also tuned in or present on a Sunday morning. Our stewardship campaign is on the road again. Things are moving along. And our focus really for 2022 is to maintain the momentum that we gained over the last year. It is really important, obviously, to play along with that analogy of being on the road again, that we keep our gas tank full, that we make sure our oil levels are appropriate, that our tire pressure in our tires is where it needs to be. And all of that takes time and resources to do that. And as a congregation, we are fully dependent upon the gifts of those who are interested in supporting our ministry to be able to continue to do the work of the church. So as session is beginning the process of looking at the budget, one of the ways that we're able to set a budget is by having a good sense of the dollar amounts that our members and friends of congregation are pledging to give in the coming year. So if you haven't got your pledge in yet, if you go to the church website, fpcwbl.org, and check in the announcements page there, you'll find a link that will take you to the online pledge form, and you can fill that out directly online. It's hard to believe that next week is Thanksgiving. We will have a Wednesday night update next Wednesday. Then Thursday will be Thanksgiving, and then that next Sunday will be the beginning of Advent. Advent will soon be upon us. I love the season of Advent. It's obviously, people say it's such a busy time for pastors, and it's true. There is a busyness to it, and none of the Sunday services are the same. But this year, Advent is going to be a lot of fun, I think, especially the kids' pageant. We've been working on the children's pageant. We've been filming that. It's all going to be video-based this year, and we've been doing some green screen stuff, and I hope you guys stay tuned for that on Sunday, December 12th. And then we will have our service of lessons and carols on Sunday, December 19th. So stick those in your calendar and prepare for those as Advent is coming up before too long as well. A few prayer requests to mention tonight. I'm going to bypass the ones that we've kind of highlight every week and give you a couple of the more recent ones here. Dave and Sue Hunt's daughter-in-law, Becky, we mentioned that she was hospitalized with severe vertigo and 2 small internal carotid aneurysms. Becky is home now, and she is resting, and she'll be seeing a neurologist sometime in the next few days. So we definitely want to keep Becky in prayer at this time. Peggy Roski was not with us on worship on Sunday, but Peggy, we are glad to have you with us here tonight. And Peggy's requested prayer for pain that she's been having in her back and legs, and she's hoping to find relief for that. And her next doctor's appointment is coming up on December 6th. So we'll keep you in prayer, Peggy. And then Al Flory, who is Yvonne Schultz's son-in-law, Al has made the tough decision to stop the chemotherapy treatments that he's been having for his cancer. They haven't been working the way they had hoped, and Al is now entering into hospice care. So we definitely want to maintain our prayers for Al and Yvonne and the rest of the family. On the opposite end of the cancer spectrum, Danny and Monica Shevik's friend Steve, who has been going through a series of cancer treatments, is now feeling much stronger and experiencing considerably less pain as a result of those treatments. So we want to continue to pray for Steve and his healing as well. The other folks in our congregation that we're aware of that are dealing with cancer at some level are David Mork, who is a former member, and he's battling colon cancer. Bill Cleary, Sue Hunt's younger brother, who has aggressive metastatic cancer. And Andrea Esterly's mom. She's completed all her cancer treatments, but continues with the ongoing maintenance related to that at this time. And then Bill Fairman, who is on hospice care at Encore. Our prayers with him and the family. So that kind of deals with our prayer requests for this evening. I don't know what your week's been like, but for me, this has been a week of new firsts. When I say new firsts, I mean old firsts that are new again. With the colder weather coming in, and if you know me at all, you know I am not a fan of the cold weather. I do not like to be outside running in the cold weather. So Sunday night, I made the decision to join the YMCA again. So Monday, I was back in the gym for the first time since March of 2020. I was shocked as I made my way to the gym because it left me feeling very anxious as I was driving there. I felt very anxious as I was walking in there. So much that I had previously taken for granted, I was feeling unsure about. But I was glad that I finally got in there and overcame that. It is amazing to me just how much anxiety so many of us are feeling over things that in the past, 18 months ago and beyond that in the past, we would have just never thought twice about, just taken for granted. There is a lot of relearning that we're going to have to go through, a lot of obstacles that we're going to have to overcome as we continue to step through COVID for us. The other thing I hadn't done for a couple of years now was go to a movie theater. And Monday evening, Jenny and I went with 2 good friends to see the movie Belfast. I had wanted to see it. I wasn't sure how long it was going to be in the theaters for, and boy, is that a good film. If you haven't had a chance to go see it yet, I would really encourage you to swing by the theater and do that. The cinematography is outstanding. It tells the story of, or semi-biopic story of Kenneth Branagh, the director, growing up as a kid in Belfast. And it's based in the year 1969, which is the year that the Troubles began in Belfast. It's the year when violence erupted on the streets. And in the movie, you see just the sectarianism begin to come across, but you also see the deeply personal side of it. And the thought I want to share for this week is a quote from the movie. It comes from the granny in the movie. And the granny was played by Dame Judi Dench. And it was very interesting to hear Judi Dench with a Belfast accent. But Judi Dench says this as the granny: "We all have a story to tell, but what makes each one different is not how this story ends, but rather the place where it begins." I love that, right? We've all got a story to tell, but the thing that makes each story different is not how the story ends, but rather it's the place where it begins. And that's always been a big deal for me in terms of how I have thought about life, about how I have thought about theology. I've always said that, we spend far too much time as Christians saying, well, if you're over here on the left and I'm over here on the right, my goal is to get you to where I am, or vice versa. But if we're supposed to be growing in Christ and we're on a journey towards Christ, it really doesn't matter where you are on this horizontal spectrum, because it's all about this journeying towards the point. And as we move towards Christ, as we grow in that direction, it will all become closer together. The movie Belfast reminded me very much of how so many of us have indeed got different starting points. Because the movie itself is set around this area of Belfast here. And you can see where the movie is set here. It's set on Mount Collier Street. Mount Collier Street was a very poor street in Belfast. But my grandparents only lived a couple of blocks away on the Antrim Road. And where I have that spot where my grandparents lived, my mum and dad were married about 2 blocks south of that as well, in a church called St. James Church. But as the Troubles began to settle in, and I used to play, you can see in Alexandra Park there as well, which is adjacent to that. I played there probably until I was trying to remember, I think about 4 years old. When we would go over to see Granny and Grandpa, we would walk over. So they would walk me over in the stroller, or pram as we used to call it when I was a baby. So from 1968 to about 1972. So even through the start of the Troubles, we would have walked through those areas. But that area where the movie was set was mostly Protestant with a few Catholic homes. And so the Catholics were burned out, thrown out, or killed to get them out of that neighborhood. And they moved on to the other side of the Antrim Road. And the Protestants on the other side of the Antrim Road were forced to move away as well, because that was a largely Catholic neighborhood. Indeed, that strip there where my grandparents used to live on, that down into the centre of Belfast from there, was known as Murder Mile. For almost 20% of the murders committed during the Troubles were committed along that roadway. The funny thing is, I didn't grow up in that area, and my grandparents, when I was young, moved out of there as well. I grew up in a nicer area of the city, and honestly, I was clueless, absolutely clueless to the plight of others. I was clueless to the poverty in Belfast. A friend commented on Facebook the other day that she, who also grew up in the same neighbourhood, same street that I grew up in, didn't understand the poverty in Belfast until the mid-90s, when she returned to Belfast with the British Army because she was serving as an army nurse. And it was only then that when she was in West Belfast that she realised how unbelievably the abject poverty was for those within the working class. During the Troubles, my mum actually marched with the Women for Peace. And they had to carry umbrellas with them on these peace marches because they were attacked by the paramilitary organizations with stones being thrown at them. So they would put their umbrellas up to try to deflect the stones that were coming their way. You know, the one thing that struck me again really profoundly as I watched the film was that I can't normalize my own white middle class experience. I can't make that normative for others and say, well, look, I'm okay. I've come through all this and my life is fine. Because everybody, as Granny said, had a different starting point. And it's that starting point that makes all of our journeys absolutely unique. And folks, it's really important that we learn to hear everyone's story for what it is. That we allow everyone to have their own cultural, economic, racial, ethnic starting point. And that we don't try to make their story fit nicely and neatly with ours. But that rather we can live with the messiness. There's a great book written a number of years ago called Messy Church. The church is not supposed to look clean and crisp and like we've all got it all figured out. Because if we think we've figured it all out, we're kidding ourselves. We're just fooling ourselves. Let's make sure that we do a better job of listening to other people's stories. so that we can understand where they're beginning from and help them unwrap their story so that it can become a healthy and good story. Not necessarily one, though, that mirrors our story, but one that becomes unique in and of itself. Folks, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic evening, and I will be back with you on Sunday morning. Until then, take care, be safe, and God bless.